Greetings Petrolheads, welcome back to our garage in Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. This time we have a Castor Earthquake Rex that I bought for, it seems like 60 grand on the auction center. You can see in the top right that I have restored a couple other cars as well, which is why I have 200 grand or something like that. So this is a little bit of an interesting one, I think, because it has more parts to it than your average car, really. Not only does it have rear fenders that you can repair or buy, which is, you know, not the case for any other car that I know of in this game. Also, it is obviously a V8, but also with all-wheel drive, which is also not something that all cars have. So let's get this guy into the lifter. We'll see what's what. First of all, though. Oh, I can take off the rims. I'm gonna replace the rims right now, and then do everything else later. Just so I can get those things out of the way. If only I knew whether this engine has push rods or, you know, the overhead cam, because it does have a different engine head cover from a normal modern V8, which might indicate different tech underneath, maybe. At least that's what I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. So these are actually what? Ventilated discs on the rear end? Let me get rid of this thing again so I can see. No, just regular discs. I don't know why I thought it would have ventilated discs on the rear end. It would kind of make sense with such a large and heavy vehicle, but you know, if it doesn't have them, then it doesn't have them. It's as simple as that. So let's open the hood here. We do have just a pretty standard air filter here. Then the coils cover. Oh, it is just a normal modern V8. Why does it have a different cover then? Because it's mounted higher up? I don't think that's the reason. I mean, obviously this is all-wheel drive, but what's that got to do with the head cover? So let us, oh yeah, get rid of the throttle first, then that, and now the spark plugs, and just a normal V8 exhaust manifold as well. Fuel filter, the brake servo, the radiator fan, and the radiator idler roller. And if you're watching this, if you're actually watching, what car do you want me to do next? Just leave suggestions in the comment section. I'm obviously not gonna end this episode right here. It would be kind of silly. We just started basically. But yeah, I realized that not not all people watch my videos until the end, and that's totally fine. Like, there's better things in life to do than watch my videos. But yeah, that's why I was asking for suggestions early on into the video than you might expect. Now we're gonna take off the engine head. Cannot get rid of the pistons yet. We do see that we have double wishbone suspension up front and leaf springs rear. So that's one thing. Also, something to keep in mind is that we have all-wheel drive on the V8, which requires some certain extra parts on top of what we would normally buy for just a standard V8 car. Oh, I missed. This time I missed. So, front drive axle D and front drive axle A. Need all of it. Front drive shaft B. Transfer case. I'm gonna buy all these quote-unquote special parts that you normally don't need for a V8 right now. So we got front drive axle D, front drive axle A, you need that twice though, then the front drive shaft B, and a transfer case. So let's go here. Front drive axle A, front drive shaft B, and front drive axle D. Well, there's only this one, so you know. There's not much more that I can choose from, really. And then it's a regular V8 gearbox. It's not a 4x4 gearbox, because there is, if we go here, no, not exhaust gearbox. Actually, there is a gearbox for V8 4x4, and this does not have that. Well, this does not have this type of gearbox, which is kind of weird. But we need all of these anyway. We need this. We need this. It has cats, doesn't it? Yeah, catalytic converter, middle muffler, exhaust pipe, and then rear muffler V8. Okay, that's how it's put together. And then basically, I mean, why don't we just buy all the parts? We have ABS module and pump. We have all this. We have the alternator. This. This is double wishbone, so yeah, bottom suspension arm. Brake servo, definitely. Cam gears, cam shafts. No carburetors, no. Then clip A 4 times. We have this already. Collars cover twice. Crankshaft only once. Bearing cap 3 times. Then this. Engine block. Engine head. And then the black covers. For whatever reason. Tools Manifold. A flying wheel we have this as well. Front shock absorber, front spring. What about the steering knuckles? Well, I gotta take the rims off. It should have front steering knuckle B. But does it? No. Front steering knuckle C. Glad I looked. And then on the rear, rear axle knuckle housing C. Good. Front suspension cross member. Definitely not the short one if I had to guess. Adds the B. Front. Now I gotta look again. Front sway bar. B. Good. Front wheel hub definitely. Fuel filter, fuel pump, fuel ADI, a tank, we got the gearbox. Since this is a regular V8, it's got 2 of these and 5 of these. Then 8 of these. Two inner tie rods, pretty obviously. Then the intake manifold. We do have leaf springs, so 2 of these, 4 of these, 2 of these, and 1 of those. Then the power steering pump, radiator fan and the radiator itself, the knuckle housing C. Rear drive axle, doesn't it? Because it is all-wheel drive, it should have. No, it's got the solid rear drive axle, doesn't it? Yeah. So we do not need this. Rear shock absorber B. Then no rear wheel hub, no rear sway bar. So rubber bushings. 4 normal ones and 4 small ones as far as I know. This. And 2 of these. A starter, a steering rack. Then the B links. The throttle obviously. Timing cover, transfer case we have. Then the water pump and the pulley and wheel hub caps up front. Yeah, caps I think. This should be it now. So let's get right into the... It's got bearings. Anyway. Wait, what? Front drive axle. Oh, good thing I bought the correct ones. I was gonna say if I messed up that one as well, then I must be really stupid, because I just looked that up right before I went to buy it. But you know, wouldn't be the first time. It's happened before. I just took out the front sway bar without removing the sway bar front end links first. or the second one anyway. That's kind of weird. I don't think this should be the case. But you know, I'll take it. So, front wheel hubs is something I should probably also replace on my Golf, because I started working on my car a little bit myself, because I usually didn't do it. It was always my dad, you know. He's a mechanic. But today I felt like, okay, today's the day where I start working on my car myself, and I just lifted it up really with a just normal car lifter, not one of these, but you know, more like, is there any such thing here? Yeah, something like this. And I took off the wheels, I looked at the brakes and all that, and I will probably replace the front brakes as well. And the wheel hubs, maybe it is a lower suspension arm, it's not a bottom suspension arm like from this game. It's only got one suspension arm really up front. That one's still pretty okay though. It's not in terrible condition. Nothing really is on my car, and that's good to say. However, it's also almost 20 years old, so of course you're gonna replace some parts every now and then. With that, we're gonna remove this drive shaft, the mufflers, and also the cat, then the transfer case, which is bolted on with 4 bolts it seems, then the gearbox, there goes the oil pan, and the crankshaft bearing caps. And we're almost done with unmounting absolutely everything. Not quite though. Still have to go back to the engine bay. Take out the last pieces except for the crank and the block. Then we're gonna lift it up again for the crank, and then get it back down to remove the block, and then we get everything. So ABS module and ABS pump. That is something that my Golf does not have, because there's no ABS. It also does not have a brake servo, but it does have power steering. And today I put in some power steering oil, because you do need that, because if there's not enough power steering oil, then you're gonna notice that the steering is very, very heavy at slow speeds. I mean, some people like that. I myself like it as well in older sports cars, but that's more like an occasional thing to drive a sports car. If you're gonna live with that every day, you probably will prefer the steering not to be incredibly heavy. Unnecessarily heavy, I should say. We do it. Yeah, we did buy this. So brake servo. I mean, replacing the or refilling, I should say, the power steering oil is something you can do as well. It's one of the easiest things you can do, but you know, it's a start. I gotta get started at some point. If I always rely on somebody else repairing my cars, and that somebody is not there or is not available at the time I would need something, then I would usually have to put my car into the workshop and pay a lot of money for it to get fixed. And I would rather be able to fix my car for myself. And since I have not done an apprenticeship, now that I can finally speak again, like I gotta teach myself basically. I have not bought the transfer case. Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with the exhaust then. There we go. But it was kind of fun to learn, you know, okay, this is the front drive axle, this is the bottom suspension arm, this is you know, learning all the parts, what they look in real life, because they're actually quite similar to what they look like in this game, like very, very accurately displayed in this game. I mean, usually, like, it's no surprise that they look similar, because, you know, what would be the point of a car mechanic simulator game if the games would look totally different from real life? But all I'm saying is I was surprised that I could almost immediately find what I was looking for, despite never having touched a car for myself yet, like on my own. This game is really teaching me somewhat at least. This is like theory, and walking out and actually working on my real car is practice. That's the practical stuff then. So then, now that we have the shock absorbers in again, I think this side is basically done except for the brakes and the rims, obviously. So So now we're gonna go back to the site and complete it. Now let's go to the rear end, where we're gonna put in the exhausts first. Wait, what is that? Yeah, that's the new one. Because I thought my mouse cursor was pointing, was hovered over the old one for some reason. It happens sometimes that you obviously always select the new parts first, but then for some reason, if you've done it for a while, at some point it will make the mouse cursor hover over a different item in your inventory, which can sometimes cause you to install an old part when you actually wanted to install a new part somewhere. That's happened to me a couple of times before, and it's a little bit annoying, but you know, what does it matter? Just take it out again and replace it with the new one. Takes an extra 5 seconds maybe. It's not a big deal. Small rubber bushing. Those small rubber bushings require an extra bolt each, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. Then the leaf spring U-bolts. And then just brakes. In case you were wondering, now that I've been talking a little bit about my Mark III Golf and the brakes and all that, it has solid discs on the front and drum brakes on the rear end. So yeah, that is how that car is set up. I am also kind of thinking about replacing the intake manifold of my Golf with a new throttle and a new fuel rail as well, but I want direct injection basically is what I want, because it, as standard, it has multi-point injection, and I want direct injection for more power, better responsiveness, and lower fuel consumption, even though it's already very economical. But still, it's a nice bonus of the direct injection. However, the only problem I have is that I don't know if there's a tuner in town that you know has those parts that I need. Like if they have a direct injection system for a Golf 3 TDI that normally has multi-points. I don't know if they're selling that kind of stuff. Wait, did I only buy 2? Yeah, I only bought 2 camshafts apparently. And if if there isn't one such tuner, then obviously, you know, that whole dream is basically popped and, you know, has come to an end. But it's not a big deal. I mean, I've only bought 2 cam gears also. It's not a big deal. I don't need the extra power and the extra fuel economy. It's already very economical, and it's not, you know, annoyingly slow, painfully slow. So, but it would be cool if I could do it. it would be a project I would do on my own, you know. It's something I can call my own. It's something where I can then say, I've done this to my car. I did this. I was the one putting in the new intake manifold, installing the new throttle, and yada yada yada. Yeah, it just feels good if you've done something yourself on your car. Alrighty. Now we've almost finished this car already, ridiculously enough. Been talking quite a lot about, you know, real life car related things. Hope you don't mind. And time's been flying by actually. It's been passing really quickly on this episode, I think. So then the ignition coils, then the coils cover, and that's basically it for here. No, the radiator and the radiator fan, and then the oil pan. That should be it, basically. No, the exhaust manifold. Can see it from here, but I can't reach. Usually, if you see a truck like this on the road, they have much bigger rims than this. Like equally as tall tires, but the rims are much larger, so there's less tire profile. Because in the end, nobody drives those trucks off-road anyway. They're usually a sign for, you know, you having a lot of money, which you need in order to run those things, because they're thirsty, man, and they're, especially with the V8, they're certainly not cheap to insure. We got everything in. Look at that, car value 112,000. So let's paint this guy. Paint it blue actually. Dark blue. There we go. So this is our Castor Earthquake Rex. Think I'm actually gonna keep this one in my garage. I got other projects as well in the garage. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please click the like button, it helps out a great deal. Subscribe if you wanna see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.